The Meridian ships appeared without warning, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight across Earth's atmosphere in prismatic cascades. Humanity's first contact with alien life came not with a message of peace, but with an ultimatum that echoed through every communication device on the planet. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the United Earth Defense Council chamber, her hands trembling as she replayed the transmission for the assembled leaders. The alien speaker's translated words filled the room with cold disdain. Your civilization is primitive, your technology crude, your world nothing but a backwater dirt sphere. The Meridian Empire claims this sector. Submit to our authority or face extinction. The chamber erupted in chaos, but Sarah barely heard the shouting matches that followed. Her attention remained fixed on the holographic display, specifically on the subtle variations in the Meridian ambassador's bioluminescent patterns. As the foremost xenobiologist at the Pacific Institute of Advanced Studies, she noticed something others had missed. "They're afraid," she whispered, then louder. "They're afraid of something about Earth." The room gradually fell silent as heads turned toward her. Sarah straightened, her scientific mind already racing through possibilities. "Look at their physiological responses when discussing our planet. Their bioluminescence shows stress patterns, particularly when mentioning our atmosphere." Admiral Viktor Petrov, his weathered face creased with concern, leaned forward. "Explain, Doctor. What exactly are you seeing?" Sarah quickly accessed her tablet, projecting enhanced images of the Meridian ambassador. Their species evolved in an environment with minimal radiation exposure. See these protective layers. Their entire technology base seems built around avoiding direct stellar radiation. They're not just being arrogant. They genuinely find our comfort with open sunlight disturbing. The implication slowly dawned on the assembled leaders. Humanity, forged in the light of a main sequence star, had developed alongside levels of radiation that would be lethal to Meridian biology. What the aliens saw as primitive might be the key to resistance. General Diana Santos, commander of Earth's combined military forces, spoke up. "Can we weaponize this? Turn their weakness into our advantage?" Sarah hesitated only briefly before nodding. Their entire empire must be built around protecting themselves from radiation. Their ships, their colonies, their combat systems, all designed to filter out what we consider normal background radiation. If we could develop weapons that exploit this, then we might have a fighting chance, Admiral Petrov finished. "Dr. Chen, I'm giving you full access to our research facilities. We need solutions, and we need them fast." The next 3 months passed in a blur of frantic research and development. While the Meridian Empire systematically absorbed Earth's outer colonies, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly in underground laboratories. They studied every scrap of data from encounters with Meridian forces, every reading from their ships, every fragment of their technology they could salvage. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Marcus Wong, a quantum physicist working with Sarah's team, made the connection between Meridian shield technology and their radiation sensitivity. Their defensive systems are specifically tuned to block high-energy particles, he explained during a late-night session. But they've left themselves vulnerable to certain wavelengths they never evolved to fear. Sarah immediately understood. Ultraviolet C, their home system's star, would have filtered most of it out. They never needed to defend against it. She quickly pulled up simulations on her holodisplay. If we could develop a focused UVC emission system, we could penetrate their shields, Marcus finished. Their entire defense network would be useless against it. The discovery energized the resistance effort. While the Meridians believed they were dealing with a primitive species scrambling to mount a defense, humanity was preparing a surprise. Underground factories began producing what came to be called Sunforge weapons, devices that could concentrate and project UVC radiation with devastating effect on Meridian biology. The first test came sooner than expected. A Meridian patrol discovered one of Earth's hidden research facilities in the Atacama Desert. As their ships descended through the atmosphere, Sarah watched from the command center, her heart pounding. Everything hinged on this moment. Sunforge batteries charge, the weapons officer reported. Awaiting your command. General Santos stood firm, her voice steady. Let them get closer. We need to be certain. The Meridian ships drew nearer, their crystalline hulls gleaming with confident menace. At 5 kilometers out, they began charging their primary weapons. Now, Santos ordered. The Sunforge arrays activated, sending invisible beams of concentrated UVC radiation skyward. The effect was immediate and devastating. Meridian shields, designed to stop kinetic weapons and high-energy particles, did nothing to stop the focused ultraviolet assault. The crystalline ships began to crack, their crews experiencing radiation burns despite their protective gear. Within minutes, the entire patrol force retreated in disarray, leaving behind one crashed vessel for Earth's scientists to study. As cheers erupted throughout the command center, Sarah felt no triumph, only grim determination. They had proven their theory correct, but this was just the beginning. That evening, as she stared out over the desert facility, Sarah composed a message to be broadcast on all frequencies the Meridians used. You called us primitive. You mocked our world. But we are children of the sun, born in radiation you fear. Remember this day. Remember that Earth will not submit. The Meridian response was predictable. They launched a full-scale assault on the facility. But now humanity had a weapon, and more importantly, they had hope. As Sarah watched Earth's defenders prepare for the coming battle, she knew that the real war was just beginning. The Empire had awakened something they never expected in their primitive opponents, the unshakable human drive to survive, adapt, and overcome. Commander James Martinez crouched in the shadows of New Singapore's underground complex, watching as engineers assembled another batch of Sunforge weapons. 6 months had passed since Dr. Chen's breakthrough, and humanity had been busy. The surface of Earth might have appeared subjugated to Meridian observers, but beneath the ground, a revolution was brewing. Status report. He whispered into his neural link, connecting with his scattered team of resistance fighters. The responses came back in quick succession, each operator reporting from different sectors of Earth's sprawling subterranean network. Brisbane facility at 85% production capacity. Montreal bunker complex fully operational. Lagos defense grid online and undetected. James allowed himself a small smile. The Meridians, for all their advanced technology, had a peculiar blindness. Their sensors, designed to detect energy signatures that would be dangerous to their biology, completely missed the low radiation facilities humanity had built. It was like being invisible to an enemy who could only see in ultraviolet. Dr. Chen's voice cut through his thoughts on a private channel. Commander, we need you in Lab 7. There's something you should see. He found Sarah hunched over a workbench, her usually immaculate lab coat stained with coolant fluid. Before her lay what appeared to be a standard combat suit, but James knew better than to take anything in her lab at face value. Remember how the Meridians can't detect our underground facilities? She asked without looking up. We've applied the same principle to personal armor. Meet the shadow suit. James approached, examining the matte black material. Radiation-masked armor. Better. Sarah finally looked up, dark circles under her eyes betraying countless sleepless nights. It doesn't just mask radiation. It absorbs and stores it. Every moment wearing this in sunlight charges it for later use. We've effectively turned their weakness into a portable weapon. The implications were staggering. You're telling me our operators can walk right into Meridian facilities and release a concentrated burst of UVC radiation at will. Sarah finished. We've already tested it against captured Meridian shield technology. It works. The next few weeks were devoted to training elite strike teams in the use of the shadow suits. James personally led the practice missions, drilling his operators until they could control the suit's radiation discharge with surgical precision. Their first real mission came sooner than expected. Intelligence reported that the Meridians were constructing a massive communications hub in the ruins of old Tokyo. If completed, it would allow them to coordinate their forces across the entire Pacific region. "This is our chance," James told his assembled strike team. "We go in quiet, plant radiation charges at key points, and disappear. No heroics, no direct confrontation. We're shadows, nothing more." The operation began at sunset. 20 operators in shadow suits slipped through Meridian security, their presence masked from alien sensors. James led the first team toward the facility's power core, while other groups targeted communication arrays and shield generators. Everything went smoothly until they reached the central chamber. There, they found something unexpected: rows of stasis pods containing human subjects. James's blood ran cold as he realized what they were seeing. Test subjects for Meridian experiments. "Change of plans," he subvocalized through the team's neural network. "We're initiating a rescue operation. Beta team, proceed with placing charges. Everyone else, prepare for escort duty." They worked quickly, freeing the unconscious humans while setting their radiation charges. The facility's alarms finally blared just as they were extracting with the rescued prisoners. Meridian guards responded, their crystalline armor gleaming under the artificial lights. "Now," James commanded. His team activated their suits' radiation discharge simultaneously. The effect was devastating. Meridian soldiers crumpled, their protective gear useless against the concentrated burst of UVC radiation. The few who remained standing fell back, giving the human strike team the opening they needed. As they reached their extraction point, James triggered the planted charges. The massive communications hub collapsed behind them, its crucial systems destroyed by precisely placed radiation bombs. More importantly, they had rescued 37 humans from Meridian captivity. Back at the Brisbane facility, as medical teams tended to the rescued prisoners, James met with Sarah to debrief. "The shadow suits performed perfectly," he reported. "But what we found in there, they're not just trying to conquer us, Sarah. They're studying us, trying to understand how we survive in what they consider lethal conditions." Sarah nodded grimly. "Which means they're afraid, not just of our weapons, but of what we represent. We're living proof that their entire way of life, their whole empire, is built on a fundamental weakness." "Then we press that advantage," James said firmly. "Every human settlement, every resistance cell, needs to know about this. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humanity won't be underestimated." The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication. Resistance cells across Earth were reporting the same thing. The Meridians were pulling back, consolidating their forces around major population centers. Something big was coming. "They're adapting," Sarah mused, "learning from their defeats. The next phase will be harder." James checked his shadow suit's charge level, already planning the next operation. "Then we adapt faster. We hit them harder. We show them exactly why they should have never called Earth primitive." As he spoke, thousands of resistance fighters across the planet were donning shadow suits, preparing for the battles to come. The Meridian Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare, to innovate, to turn their own advantages against them. Now they would learn what happened when you backed a species evolved under the harsh light of Earth's sun into a corner. Operation Daybreak began at dawn, simultaneously across every occupied territory on Earth. As the sun rose over each time zone, resistance cells activated their Sunforge arrays, focusing the natural ultraviolet radiation to devastating effect. The Meridian response was chaos. Their carefully constructed defense networks, designed to protect against conventional attacks, proved useless against Earth's star itself. Admiral Petrov stood in the newly established Earth Defense Command Center, carved deep into the Rocky Mountains. Holographic displays showed the operation unfolding across the globe. "Status report," he commanded, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "Asian continent reporting multiple Meridian facilities breached," an operator announced. "Shadow suit teams are proceeding with infiltration. European resistance cells have disabled primary communication hubs. African defense grid is fully operational. Meridian air support has been grounded. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from her station, monitoring the effectiveness of their weapons. The data streaming and confirmed their theories. The Meridians had no defense against concentrated solar radiation. But something in the enemy's response pattern troubled her. "They're falling back too easily," she muttered, drawing James Martinez's attention. The commander had just returned from leading a strike on a Meridian command post in Argentina. "You think it's a trap?" he asked, studying the tactical displays. "I think they're learning," Sarah replied. "Look at their retreat patterns. They're not just running. They're gathering data. Every engagement teaches them more about our capabilities." Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from the lunar observation posts. The images made everyone in the command center freeze. Massive Meridian ships, unlike anything they'd seen before, were appearing at the edge of the solar system. "Second wave incoming," Petrov announced grimly. "This was never going to be easy, people. Prepare for Phase 2. The new Meridian vessels were enormous carrier ships that began deploying smaller craft by the thousands. But these weren't the crystalline ships they'd faced before. These were darker, with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than refract it. "They've adapted," Sarah realized, analyzing the sensor data. "Those hulls are designed to absorb and redirect radiation." She turned to Admiral Petrov. "We need to adjust our strategy. The Sunforge weapons won't be as effective against these new ships." But humanity had more than one trick up its sleeve. Commander Martinez's Shadow Suit teams had spent months planting stealth satellites throughout near-Earth orbit. Now those satellites activated, creating a network of radiation projectors that caught the Meridian fleet in a crossfire of concentrated UVC beams. The battle for Earth's orbit became a deadly dance of light and shadow. Meridian ships tried to use their new absorption technology, but the humans had anticipated this. The satellite network didn't just project radiation, it created synchronized pulses that overwhelmed the alien systems. On the ground, something unexpected was happening. As humanity pushed back against their oppressors, other alien species held in Meridian subjugation began to take notice. Reports filtered in of uprisings on distant colonies, of slave species watching Earth's resistance with growing interest. A transmission from a previously unknown alien race reached Earth's command center. The beings called themselves the Photari, and they had been waiting centuries for someone to challenge Meridian dominance. Their message was simple: "You are not alone in this fight." Sarah worked tirelessly with Photari scientists, sharing data and combining their knowledge. The Photari evolved on a world similar to Earth, and they had technology that could complement humanity's innovations. Together, they began developing new weapons that could bypass even the Meridian's improved defenses. The tide of battle began to turn. Meridian ships fell from orbit. Their adapted defenses proved insufficient against the combined human and Photari assault. On the surface, resistance forces pushed out from their underground bases, reclaiming city after city. But victory came at a heavy price. The Meridians, growing desperate, began targeting population centers with biological weapons designed to make Earth's atmosphere more like their homeworld. Millions were forced to evacuate to underground shelters as portions of the planet became temporarily uninhabitable. In the command center, James watched the casualty reports with growing anger. "We need to take this fight to them," he insisted. "As long as they have safe harbor in their empire, they'll keep coming back." Sarah nodded, pulling up star charts showing Meridian territory. "The Photari have provided us with navigation data. We know where their core worlds are, worlds they've engineered to block out most stellar radiation. If we can breach those artificial shields, we can make their homes as uninhabitable as they've tried to make ours." Petrov finished. "Begin planning for Operation Solar Wind. It's time to show the Meridians that humanity isn't just fighting for survival, we're fighting for our place among the stars." As Earth's forces prepared for their first extraterrestrial offensive, Sarah made a breakthrough that would change the course of the war. Studying meridian biology had revealed something crucial. Their sensitivity to radiation wasn't just a weakness, it was a fundamental part of their evolutionary history, a history that suggested their empire's greatest secret and, potentially, humanity's path to victory. The question was no longer whether humanity could defeat the Meridians, but what they would discover about the galaxy and themselves in the process. As the Resistance prepared to take the fight to the stars, Earth's defenders knew they had passed a point of no return. The coming battles would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of countless species across the galaxy. The first human fleet to enter deep space was a sight that would be remembered for generations. 300 ships, their hulls gleaming with modified Photari technology, emerged from Earth's gravity well. Each vessel carried an advanced version of the Sunforge weapon, now powerful enough to pierce the artificial darkness shrouding Meridian worlds. Commander James Martinez stood on the bridge of the flagship Terra Dawn, watching as his crew made final preparations for the jump to faster-than-light travel. Dr. Sarah Chen worked at a console nearby, monitoring the fleet's new hybrid human Photari systems. "Final checks complete," Sarah announced, her voice carrying across the bridge. "The radiation containment fields are stable. We can generate and channel solar energy even in deep space." James nodded, turning to Admiral Petrov on the main view screen. "All ships report ready, Admiral. Operation Solar Wind is go." The fleet's first target was Outpost Sigma, a major Meridian military installation that controlled access to their core territories. Intelligence from their Photari allies suggested the station was considered impregnable, its defenses specifically designed to repel any attack from radiation-tolerant species. The human fleet dropped out of FTL on the dark side of a gas giant, hidden from Meridian sensors. Sarah's modifications to their engines allowed them to approach silently, radiation signatures masked. The element of surprise would be crucial. "Multiple Meridian cruisers detected," the sensor officer reported. "They're maintaining standard patrol patterns. No indication they've spotted us." James keyed the fleet-wide command channel. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Remember your training. We hit them with everything we have, precisely where they're weakest." The battle began with a synchronized burst from every ship's Sunforge array. Concentrated beams of artificial sunlight lanced across space, cutting through Meridian shields as if they weren't there. The enemy response was immediate but confused. They had never faced an attack of this magnitude from their primitive opponents. "They're scrambling their reserve fleet," Sarah reported, analyzing tactical data. "But look at this. Their response time is slower than we've seen before. The ambient radiation out here is affecting their crew performance." That was when Sarah noticed something odd in the sensor readings. The Meridian ships were generating strange energy patterns, unlike anything they'd encountered before. She cross-referenced the data with information from the Photari archives. "James," she called urgently. "These readings, I think I know why the Meridians fear radiation so much. They're not just sensitive to it. They use darkness as a power source. Their entire civilization is built on harvesting and storing dark energy." The revelation changed everything. It wasn't just biology that made the Meridians vulnerable to Earth's weapons. It was the fundamental basis of their technology. Every burst of radiation didn't just harm their crews, it disrupted their power systems. The battle for Outpost Sigma became a turning point in the war. Human ships, understanding their advantage better than ever, targeted not just Meridian vessels, but the very power cores of their installations. The station's artificial night began to fail, sections of it becoming exposed to the distant starlight. But victory revealed new complications. As Meridian defenses crumbled, the station's databases revealed disturbing information. The Empire wasn't just fighting to maintain control, they were desperately trying to prevent a catastrophe. "Their artificial darkness isn't just for protection," Sarah explained during an emergency command meeting. "It's containing something The Meridians discovered tears in space-time, rifts that leak radiation from somewhere else. They've been using their dark energy technology to seal these rifts. James studied the data grimly. So if we destroy their empire, we could inadvertently release whatever's on the other side of those rifts. Sarah finished. But there's more. These readings suggest the rifts are expanding. The Meridian solution was only temporary. They've been buying time, trying to find a permanent solution. The human fleet's triumph suddenly felt hollow. They had proven their superiority in battle, but now faced a choice that would affect the entire galaxy. Continue their assault and risk releasing an unknown threat, or find a way to work with their enemies to address a common danger. Sarah worked through the night, analyzing Meridian research data. By morning, she had a theoretical solution. Their dark energy technology combined with our radiation manipulation, we might be able to not just contain the rifts, but close them permanently. James gathered the fleet's command staff. The Meridians called us primitive, but we've proven them wrong at every turn. Now we have a chance to prove something else. That humanity's strength isn't just in our ability to fight, but in our ability to solve problems others thought impossible. A message was sent to the Meridian High Command, an offer of cooperation backed by the proven power of humanity's weapons. The response came within hours, carrying a sense of desperate hope that transcended species barriers. As the combined human-Photeri fleet pushed deeper into Meridian space, they did so not just as conquerors, but as potential saviors. The war's final phase would determine not just military supremacy, but the fate of reality itself. The crew of the Terra Dawn prepared for their most challenging mission yet, a push toward the Meridian throne world, not to destroy it, but to prevent a catastrophe that threatened every species in the galaxy. Humanity's greatest test would not be in proving their strength, but in showing wisdom in how they used it. The Meridian throne world, Eternox Prime, hung in space like a dark jewel, its artificial night shield blocking out the light of nearby stars. The combined fleet of human, Photari, and now allied Meridian ships moved into position around the planet. On the bridge of the Terra Dawn, Dr. Sarah Chen made final adjustments to the experimental rift sealing device they called the Dawn Forge. The physics are sound, she explained to Commander Martinez and the Meridian High Chancellor, Kthal, who had joined them after the alliance. By combining your dark energy technology with our radiation manipulation, we can generate a quantum resonance field that should seal the rifts permanently. Thal's bioluminescent patterns flickered with what Sarah had learned to recognize as hope mixed with trepidation. My people have contained these rifts for millennia. We believed our way was the only way. Our fear of radiation, our empire, all of it grew from this burden. James studied the tactical display showing the largest rift, a tear in reality that their sensors could barely comprehend. How did you find these rifts in the first place? They found us, Thal admitted. Our earliest records speak of the night of burning stars, when the first rift opened above our world. Millions died before we learned to contain it. We built our empire believing we had to protect the galaxy, even if it meant subjugating other species. Sarah's instrumentation began picking up distortions around the rift. Energy levels are spiking. The containment field is weakening. We need to act now. The operation began with precision, born from months of planning. Human ships projected carefully calibrated radiation beams, while Meridian vessels channeled dark energy. Photeri craft maintained a stabilization field that prevented the energies from tearing apart space itself. At first, everything proceeded according to plan. The Dawn Forge activated, creating a quantum resonance that began to seal the edges of the rift. But as they worked, something emerged from the tear in space-time. Tendrils of pure energy that reached toward their ships. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer shouted, "Whatever's on the other side, it's trying to break through." Sarah's fingers flew across her console, adjusting the Dawn Forge's output. The rift isn't just a tear in space, she realized. It's a doorway. Something intelligent is using it. Through the fleet's combined sensors, they detected vast forms moving in the void beyond their reality. Beings of pure energy that had been trying to enter their universe since the first rift opened. The Meridian's dark energy barriers had been holding them back all this time. "We can't just seal the rift," Sarah announced. "We need to push them back first. Commander, I need every ship with a Sunforge array to target these coordinates. Chancellor Cathal, have your ships channel dark energy through these vectors, if we time this right." The next few minutes were chaos as energy beings attempted to force their way through while the combined fleet executed Sarah's plan. Human radiation beams intersected with Meridian dark energy, creating a quantum barrier that began pushing the entities back. "Dawn Forge at maximum output," Sarah reported, her voice strained. Initiating final sequence. A blinding flash lit up space as the Dawn Forge unleashed its full power. The rift began to collapse, its edges knitting together as the energy beings were forced back to their own realm. When the light faded, sensors confirmed what they hoped. The rift was sealed, not just contained but truly closed. In the aftermath, as the fleet began the process of sealing the remaining rifts, something remarkable happened. The Meridian High Council convened an emergency session and made an unprecedented announcement. The Empire would be dissolved, replaced by a Galactic Cooperation Initiative. 1 month later, representatives from Earth stood in the transformed throne room of Eternox Prime. The artificial night shield had been partially deactivated, allowing natural starlight to enter the chamber for the first time in millennia. Commander Martinez and Dr. Chen watched as Admiral Petrov signed the Galactic Concordat alongside Cathal and representatives from 24 species. "For too long, we let fear guide us," Cathal addressed the assembly. "We saw our burden as a reason to dominate others. But humanity showed us a different way. They proved that true strength lies not in control, but in cooperation. Not in hiding from challenges, but in facing them together." The Concordat established a new order in the galaxy. Earth's radiation handling technology would be shared, helping terraform worlds for species that evolved in brighter environments. Meridian dark energy knowledge would be used to create safe habitats for light-sensitive species. The Photeri would help bridge the gap between different biological needs. As Sarah stood at a window watching distant stars shine on Eternox Prime for the first time in countless generations, James joined her. "Hard to believe it all started because they called us primitive," he mused. Sarah smiled. "Maybe that's humanity's greatest strength, turning insults into inspiration, finding solutions where others see only problems." "And what do you see now?" James asked, gesturing at the star-filled sky. "New horizons," she replied. "We've proven ourselves among the stars. Now we get to help build something greater than any single empire." In the years that followed, the galaxy entered an unprecedented age of cooperation and discovery. The combined knowledge of multiple species led to innovations none could have achieved alone. Earth became known not as a dirt world, but as the birthplace of a revolution in interstellar relations. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the barriers between realities remained strong, sealed by the power of species working together rather than against each other. Humanity had not just earned its place among the stars. It had helped forge a new understanding of what civilization could achieve when fear gave way to hope and darkness gave way to dawn.